welcome to the Master of Unlocking's Game of the Year 2020 Shit Show Extravaganza Palooza. I don't even know what we are now.
That's pretty good. I like that. Can you repeat that?
Hello and welcome to the Master of Unlocking's Game of the Year 2020 Shit Show Extravaganza Palooza.
I think he did it. Yeah, he did it. That's pretty good.
I know. Great. All right. I didn't plan that at all, so we're good to go. All right. We are going to start by calling our list of 41 down to something that we would consider the actual contenders for Game of the Year. So I did not introduce myself because we are not doing a video podcast today because it's just too hard to do it all with everybody in a room. I'm Logan. Across from me, Jason.
Hello. Good morning. Yes, morning. It is morning.
Morning.
We will work into the afternoon until the Game of the Year is crowned.
Well, we might take a break to eat lunch.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Caleb, are you down for a lunch break?
It is technically morning still.
It is morning in the Central Time Zone. Not by much, but we are going to go. So, all right. Do we want to start by rattling off the list of the 41 games? And I think we might even have a couple of substitutes based on our last podcast, where we may have added and made eligible Mortal Kombat Aftermath and Kingdom Hearts Remind.
Do we want to go ahead and nominate two games to go off of the list first to add those? Or the games that we dislike enough on this list? Because we did that last week.
No, we already did that, didn't we? Didn't we do that last week?
Is Ultimate on here, MK? Because technically, Logan, it would be MK Ultimate.
I think we did that last week.
I see Remind.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we did that.
They are on there. No, it's fine.
All right.
Yep.
All right. It's been
I may have just done it
week.
while you guys were talking about it.
It's been a week. It's been a long week. All right. Well, we're going to go through these alphabetically. We are going to go 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Because
wait, should we?
yeah.
Should we like split up the list so that somebody doesn't have to just?
Yeah, I'll go through the first 13.
Okay.
I think that's 13 times 4. If I remember right, it's close 41. Okay. All right. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax, Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War, Carrion, Cyberpunk 2077, The Dark Pictures Anthology, Little Hope, Deadly Premonition 2, Death Come True, Demon Souls, and Doom Eternal. Caleb, take it from there.
Dota Underlords, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Gears Tactics, Ghost of Tsushima, G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, Hades, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, Mafia Remastered, Maneater, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Marvel's Avengers.
That leads us to MLB The Show 20, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate Edition, whoop, Moving Out, Murder by Numbers, NBA 2K21, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Paper Mario, The Origami King, Resident Evil 3, Spiritfarer, Streets of Rage 4, Tell Me Why, The Last of Us Part 2, Watch _Dogs, Legion, Wide Ocean Big Jacket, XCOM Chimera Squad, and finally, number 41, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
All right. So, in previous years, what we have done is we have each gone around and we will cut one from the list until we feel we can cut no more. And we will kind of at least give a reason why maybe that game should be cut, give it its proper due, and move on. I will start because I have one that I immediately would like to cut. That would be G.I. Joe Operation Blackout. That game is trash. It shouldn't even have made a list of 41 games, to be honest with you, but I wish I had more fun in that, and I wish they made a really good G.I. Joe game.
Okay.
So that is all I have to say about that.
I will move that down to underneath the list so that it's out of the way.
Got it.
Let me take a look real quick here. There are a lot of things that I could cut. I am going to cut Hades. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to cut The look on Jason's
boy.
face right there was that was totally worth it. Can we, as a group, make a cut here? Because I think we would probably all agree that we just need to cut Watch Dogs Legion.
I was looking at that too.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yep.
I think we can agree to a group cut on that one.
Watch Dogs. Does anybody want to say anything about the games as we cut them? I don't have much to say about Watch Dogs, to be honest.
We've talked about it a lot on the podcast. It was disappointing and underwhelming to the three of us. I really like Watch Dogs 2 a lot.
Me too. I think I like Watch Dogs 1 more than I like Watch Dogs Legion. Which
I
is
agree with that.
Weird.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Watch Dogs 1 is not a bad game. I think people look at it on it or shit on it early. Let's put it this way. But I think that game as a whole is actually pretty good. Now, granted, Watch Dogs 2 is much better, but Watch Dogs 1 was not as bad as people think it was.
It might have just been a product of the hype. I think it might have been hyped up too much. I don't know.
And it was also a cross-gen game. Yeah. And I think that was part of it. Some of those games do suffer from being a cross-gen issue, and as Watch Dogs Legion is currently suffering from a cross-gen issue.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just I was disappointed in the lack of narrative there.
Oh, I completely agree.
And one of the things that I like most about games is character development. And since you're not playing as a consistent character, they just can't do that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a fine open world game, but none of us connected with it. So,
yep. Okay. Jason, you got one?
Mafia Remastered looks really nice. It is an old game that has been built from the ground up, but is still that game. Not a ton new about it. I enjoyed my time with it more than I thought I would. Not too long, and I miss L.A. Noire, and it certainly didn't fill that gap, but it was kind of in a setting that I enjoy. I enjoy gangster fiction, but that should go, mainly because I'm the only one that played it, but also there are too many other games that should stay.
Yeah, I still want to go back and play that at some point because I do really like 2, and I like 3 a lot too.
I think you'd like it. It's just fine. Just fine.
Okay. All right. That takes over to me. I am going to throw out Moving Out. We played this, Caleb, you and I played this at PAX last year. Thought it would be a lot of fun to play. A little party game similar to Overcooked. That game hits a wall at some point where they put you in space. And the amount of stuff that they throw at you makes it so difficult that it's not fun anymore. So that kind of thing with a party game,
especially if you're playing with children, right? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, it's designed to kind of even be that way.
Yeah.
I've been playing Overcooked with my kids too, here and there, and my 6-year-old hits a wall, obviously.
Yeah.
But for the wall in Moving Out happens too early. Like it's one of those that it's just too hard too fast, and because they put the same star restriction on things, like if you don't have enough stars you can't move on to the next area, and it's usually like a 3-star system, so you get to a point where you're just completely stuck if you don't have somebody fully competent to handle some of the more, so it's kind of like a, not, it's the Demon Souls of party games. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's
I thought we were past that analogy. I don't know.
No, it's not that bad, but it was just frustrating because you want a game like that to be more fun and enjoyable, and it just was like, this just isn't fun.
Or, give different difficulty modes or something so that it's like...
Yeah, like we had fun with it for like the first hour, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh.
Yeah. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to start at the very top of the list, and I'm going to cut 13 Sentinels.
I thought that might make it a little farther.
There's probably worse games on this list than that, but I'm not going to...
We'll come for them. We'll get rid of them.
What surprises me is that you took it off before Deadly Premonition 2.
Those were the two I was kind of looking at to take off.
Okay. So we know what next round looks like.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just do that right now.
Okay. We'll just...
Why not?
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you've got some of those games that multiples. Is this going to be like that, like the Christmas thing where like the kids have like more presents than the adults, so you have the kids open 2 at a time when you're rotating around?
That, or we're going to have to write Caleb a really big check.
Oh,
right.
man,
You know what I mean?
do,
To balance it out.
you guys
I
do
know.
Christmas way different than us. We always do one person at a time.
Oh.
You just go through
Well,
everything.
when you're,
But
it's the small kids factor that is the
even when we were small kids, we did
really.
that, yeah.
God, good for your family with the discipline. Look at this
Oh,
guy.
yeah. See, we just rotate. Everybody
man.
one at a time.
That sounds like, would you grow up in an internment camp?
I
Like-
guess. I don't know. I just,
You have all your joy at once and then stop.
man, this is one of those things where I just never even thought about it and thought that's
I
just
guess
how everybody did
That's
it.
true. I
but-
guess whatever your family tradition is, that's what your family tradition is, and you've done it. So
I would like to take MLB The Show 20 off of the list.
okay.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed that game this year. It happened right when we all went home from work. And so I kind of needed to pick me up, and baseball was canceled. And so I played a lot of the show to kind of fill the baseball gap. It still looks incredible, and I'm really excited to see next gen The Show. Because if that looks as good as it does on a PlayStation 4 Pro, then, ooh boy.
Yeah.
The sky is the limit. Also, I'm really interested to see what cross-platform life is like for that game going forward. So it filled a nice gap for me. We've talked about this a lot, especially with you, Caleb. Like time and place in the year hit me in a sweet spot that I didn't anticipate, but it should go.
I guess I should probably give 13 Sentinels and Deadly Premonition their eulogies.
Sorry,
I
yeah.
didn't really
Yes,
actually
please feel
do
free
that.
to give them their
Go ahead.
eulogies. Thank you. Sorry, we.
There, 13 Sentinels is a fantastic story. I think it kind of suffers because you're bouncing around to different threads of the story at all times. You're going from one character to another and seeing a bit of their story and then moving on to somebody else. And I think that becomes confusing at a certain point, at least it did for me. If I had the time, well, I did have the time, but if I had the willpower to go in and scour the journal entries every time something unlocked, maybe that would have become clearer. But I thought it was a little bit muddled in the way that it presented that. I think I did understand the big overall or the overarching storyline, so I get what the game was going for, and I like it a lot. I just wish it was a little more clear in the details. So that's why it's not going to make our list. And then Deadly Premonition 2, very similar to Deadly Premonition 1 in that I love the characters, and I think that Swery does an incredible job of setting up locations. But the technical problems with that game, and also the level design, going through the actual gameplay parts is a huge slog, even worse than the first game. So I can't. I wish that he would get a bigger budget at some point so he can make something that's technically good. Because I think his ideas are always great, but he can't execute a game to save his life.
Sometimes, I don't know, the missing was really good.
Yeah,
I liked that one a lot.
It was. I think that's much smaller in scope.
True,
So-
a much smaller scope game. Yeah, you're not going to do an open world game
Right,
from swearing.
yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure. All right, I think that comes back to me then, doesn't it? Oh gosh, this is getting harder already. I'll take out Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory.
That's what I thought you were coming for.
Yeah.
I saw the targets set in on it.
Oh no! I guess I did click it. Yeah. So, that game is a moderate celebration of the music of that game. I think they could have done better.
The music is like top 3 parts of Kingdom Hearts, right?
right. I mean, I was going to even say top 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the best parts of that game and entire, what do you call that, universe. But it lacked a lot of oomph, especially with they spent a lot of time in everything up to 3, and then they kind of phoned it in with everything from Kingdom Hearts 3, which has a lot of excellent music, and that's pretty sad that they kind of phoned it in with that. So anyway, yeah, I don't have much else to say about that.
Wide Ocean Big Jacket can come off the list, even though I think it's the best name of a game on this
That's
list.
true. It sounds like it's a Cake song. Short skirt, long jacket. Yeah.
Do you guys have any idea what this is?
No.
Okay. I would like you guys to guess what this game is based on nothing but the title.
I think it is about a shark who lost his coat years ago. And he is looking the ocean for this coat, but when he finally finds it, it's a coming of age story. He finally finds it and realizes how much he's grown because the jacket no longer fits him.
Charlton Heston enters the frame as Moses, and he goes to part, instead of the Red Sea, this very wide ocean, and he wants to get to it, but he realizes that he's very cold and he needs his big jacket. So he gets his big jacket and he puts all 15, and then he drops 5 of them, all 10 commandments now. And puts the 2 tablets left in his very big jacket, and then parts the wide ocean instead of the Red Sea. It's a retcon on the Bible.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
So this game's about a camping trip.
Perfect.
If I remember right, it's been so long since I played this. I think it came out in like February or something. But if I remember right, it is a man and his wife, his niece, and his niece's friend, who may or may not be her boyfriend. And they go on this camping trip together. And it's just a bunch of... there's not really a whole lot of actual gameplay to it. It's just a lot of dialogue and scenes with the various combinations of them. But I think... And it's really short. It's like an hour long. But it does do dialogue extremely well. And you get to know those characters really quickly. And you get attached to them really quickly. And you hear about their stories and why they're there. And what their motivations are. And what their hopes and dreams are. That sort of thing. It's really cool. I would recommend it if you don't mind there not being a lot of game in your game.
Can you compare this to something really quickly?
Can I compare this to something?
Is this like not a Telltale game, but a Don't Nod game in a way?
Kind of, yeah, like a smaller scoped Don't Nod game would be a good, yeah. Like if it was Life is Strange, but like on a budget of a 10th of Life is Strange.
Okay. I think we can go ahead and cut maybe one of my favorite games of all time, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate.
Whoa.
Because it's not going to make our list when it comes down to the recently released games of the year. We just had a discussion about this. Maybe we make a Mortal Kombat sandwich with Kingdom Hearts bread here.
Okay, let's do it. All right. You telling me I got to kick mine out here? Is that what you're telling me?
No, we talked about how where we want to at least play the kind of games we want to play, and also have respect for the new releases at the same time. And we don't have to do this, Logan. We don't have to boot Kingdom Hearts. But I will say that MK11 is slowly climbing my list, and it's pretty high on my all-time list. I talked about this a little bit last week. There are new things that happened, and the newest, biggest drastic, I think it is an improvement for MK11 fans, but the variation change in the competitive scene. Now, Logan knows this, Caleb, you may not, but there were 2 variations, and what those are movesets. Loadouts. Okay. Whatever you want, whatever term that helps you understand. And those, just now in the competitive scene, went from being presets for each character to customizable. And so you have now the entire moveset at your disposal instead of just a few per variation. Mm-hmm. And so now you're picking from a list of 9 moves, you're now picking 3 instead of just 3 that are set to a particular variation. And what has happened is that this has now opened up new combos and new strategies.
This does not mean that you can use moves from other characters, though,
no,
right? Okay.
No. So you're think of like 3. There's like 3 fighting styles.
Okay.
And
but you can't use. You're not like playing as God, I just completely blanked
Scorpion.
on all of the characters.
So you can't all of a sudden have an ice ball as Scorpion.
Okay, yes, that was my question.
There was typically like there'd be 3 fighting styles. Each fighting style had 3 move sets or 3 intricate moves attached to it. What would happen is then like, yeah, there might be one great move that you loved in the Shaolin moveset that in the, I don't know, I'm just making up a Kung Pao. I don't know. That's a chicken. But in the moveset.
Delicious.
I know. That you could never access if you did that. So now you can pick like 2 from one and 1 from the other, or 1 out of each. That does open up a lot more combinations and make it more interesting. I will say what I've been playing of Aftermath, and I really enjoyed MK11 last year too. I like it. I think that they've done a really nice job with it, and they've done a good job of also keeping a good balance between keeping the people who play it for story and play it for and just like, oh, hey, I just want to mess around playing versus the computer, playing versus my friends locally, keeping that stuff, a good balance between that and then the ultra competitive scene, because those are 2 completely different worlds. And if casual player wants to hop in the ultra competitive scene, they're never going to keep up.
Yep.
And there's a place for both of them in that world, in a game that, in a world of ongoing games, that it's kind of hard to do that with, especially fighting games. I mean, you look at like Street Fighter now, if you couldn't even begin to jump into that. It's
the 2 other things that I want to say briefly, and I don't want to take too much time because I know I talk about it literally every week, and I'm sorry. The variation change is big because it has now switched around tiers of character. So the community has S tier, A tier, B tier. They have tiers of what a character's capabilities are, and now all those characters have moved around because of the variation changes. And the other thing I want to say is in post-COVID world, the competitive scene, the paid scene, the professional scene has come back in a big way because the netcode is literally the best fighting game netcode that's ever been available.
Yeah.
We talked about, you explained this to me a little bit, Caleb, because I didn't understand it, but like offline tournaments weren't taken seriously. And right now, the MK11 netcode, although there are bandwidth limitations and distant limitation when you're playing someone across the world, right? Which is why they do it regionally. But the netcode allows them to have a respectable, like, irrefutable champion.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't break. So that's the other big thing I wanted to say, and they deserve a lot of credit for doing that, which is probably why it is still now a year and a half later or whatever it is, still the most relevant fighting game because the netcode is so good and people can play it, unlike Street Fighter and things like that. So.
And I think that, you know, when we talked about does this game deserve to be on our list of 41 or not, I think at least for me, the thing that swayed me was it absolutely does, because the content that came out in 2020 contributed to that game. Like you were talking about the tier lists, and at that time, before the moveset swap, some of the DLC characters were at the top of that tier list, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if that means that, you know, the DLC is impacting the game that much, then yes, absolutely it belongs.
A character released in March of 2020, the Joker was the world champion character before everybody had to go home.
Right.
Yep. Thank you guys for letting me talk about it.
Yeah, no problem. All right. I don't expect any feedback from this, but I will just, I don't know, go on a little soliloquy about Kingdom Hearts Remind DLC.
So before you do, I just wanted to say, when Jason said Mortal Kombat is the meat in the Kingdom Hearts sandwich, okay, so for me, I don't know why, but like visually, you know, when I think of like Disney and Kingdom Hearts, what food would that represent? Like, what food would represent that? And the first thing that popped into my mind was a marshmallow. I don't know why. Like, Disney and marshmallow, for some reason, went together. And then for Mortal Kombat, it was just like a bloody steak. So now in my head, I have this bloody steak between 2 giant marshmallows, and I am just like completely like thrown off by that.
I don't think that would be that bad.
Logan would at least want to try it.
I would try it.
I can guarantee you would try it.
Yeah. Okay. So the Kingdom Hearts Remind DLC, that had legs. And what I mean by that, it wasn't just like a DLC that was like, okay, here's 45 minutes of content and it's over. There was about 3.5 hours of story content in there, maybe 4. And then there were what they call data battles after that. The data battles were you fought, you went into what was essentially a giant arena battle where you fought against Organization 13, all 13 members, and what was possibly some of the hardest boss fights that I've ever done in Kingdom Hearts.
Which is something that Kingdom Hearts struggled with, at least for me. The whole series wide is coming up with interesting fights. It's they were either way too easy or impossibly hard until you grinded it out, and then it became way too easy.
And these were, so I was full level 99, had the ultimate weapon, and it was still hard. And this is, playing on normal difficulty. Like, these were not, I'm not trying to do this on proud mode or anything else. These were hard, and the payoff ultimately of that is that you get the secret ending and find out what's going to happen in the next game, which is that they are basically doing a full. Tetsuya Nomura had Final Fantasy Versus 13 canceled on him. All of the characters from Versus 13 are now in this new world that Sora is now locked in. So now we are kind of going to be moving away a little bit from the Disney world and now going back to that Square world, which I'm getting a thumbs up from Jason across the way.
Yeah.
The entire new setting for this is a neon city. He's stuck in this world full of, like, everybody looks like Final Fantasy characters. And there's the main character's name is Yozora. Like, it's completely different, and like I don't know what that means moving forward, but maybe Jason's a little happier about what that means.
At this point, for me, the weirder they get, the better it goes.
It is full on, like, it is Disney anime, and I don't know what else to say that it is, because it's batshit crazy from a story standpoint.
It's almost like Disney fanfic come to life.
It is. It really is. And I wish they could take it a little bit farther. Like, I want Winnie the Pooh to just have, like, a straight up knife and just start fucking people
Winnie
up.
the Pooh with a bandana and a machine gun, just like mowing dudes down.
Yes, I need that.
He's got a dart hanging out of his mouth, lit all the time.
Mickey just always has, like, a cigarette hanging from his lip, like, just he's just. Like, I'm happy with where it is, but I mean, obviously, it would be great if they would go dark. Disney would never allow that, but the stuff that they did with Remind, even with the story part on top of that, was they brought it back to, you played the last Keyblade Graveyard section as all of the characters. So you got to play as Riku, you got to play as Kairi, you got to play as Aqua and Ventus, and all of the characters. You got to see their part of that, and then ultimately you got to play as Kairi, which was kind of like the big thing for that game, which they've never done.
Yep.
So, while each of those were maybe 10 minutes apiece, it was cool to be able to do that. And so, I had going back and looking at that as I was putting together Game of the Year stuff, it was like, I really had a good time with this. Like, so, I'm glad we were at least able to make it eligible, but like we said, it should not probably make our group collective top 10.
I think, though, just to be clear about where we were going, if for some reason all three of us felt that way, or if you guys both were like MK11 wonks, then I think that's the thing that I wanted to avoid going into the future. For some reason, if we all feel a certain way about a game and it's not technically a 2020 release or DLC and has bleeded into another year, at least wise, we're now covered to play what we want and also be able to qualify it if for some reason, like, oh man, all of us love this. Yeah, it may wind up on our list. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and it's a possibility.
It's over the past 10 years, things have blurred the lines so much more. It used to be, we used to be able to say this is a downloadable game versus a retail game, and like that's completely blurred now. So there's
like less version 1.0 even now. Early access. Some of the stuff is.
So I think we're doing the right thing by opening it up. So so that we don't miss anything.
Right. So go ahead. I'm done with my Kingdom Hearts.
I moved Murder by Numbers down. That game is cool if you like Picross. Do you guys know what the actual name of Picross is?
Picross 3D?
No, because Picross is actually the Nintendo branded version. I don't know what the actual puzzle name is, but that game, it kind of plays like Phoenix Wright, where you're solving mysteries by collecting evidence and interviewing people. But when you collect evidence, you have to do a Picross puzzle to reveal it, which is a cool concept. But by the end of that game, you're just like, I don't want to do any more Picross. I just want to see the end of the story. So I got a little bit tired of that, and the story doesn't really... it's fine, but it doesn't really, it doesn't hold it all the way through. So that can come off the list. I think it's just a super unique concept, though. So I at least wanted to mention it here, because I like it when games take swings like this.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jason.
Immortals Phoenix Rising should probably go.
I don't want to leave that yet.
Really?
Okay.
No, I want to leave that for now. I've actually been playing more of that
Really?
recently.
Okay.
I would make a case for that right now to stay.
The plot thickens.
I would rather take off. I can take off a couple more actually. I can take off Death Come True. That game is basically a slightly worse version of Bandersnatch. It's cool, and again, I like it. Like I said, I like it when games take swings, but this one doesn't completely go. Also, I think, it's not gonna make it onto our list, so I'm gonna cut XCOM Chimera Squad, even though I really liked that game. It is a little janky, or at least it was when I played it. It might be fixed by now. But it is a really cool tactics game. But you guys don't generally play tactics games, so it's not going to hang with the rest of the stuff on this list.
Speaking of tactics, what about Gears Tactics?
Yeah, that can go too. I actually like XCOM better than Gears Tactics.
Oh,
so
really?
if you're okay with cutting Gears Tactics,
I like it. I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
Pick and choose, right?
And
fell in love with other things.
Gears Tactics they have about probably 10 hours worth of content in there, and they stretched it out to 20. So at the end of that game, it's really grindy and really repetitive.
Okay, maybe not then. I hope to revisit that, but maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Knowing that. I think I see another game that all three of us don't really like.
What's that?
What, do we want to? Is it one that like all three of us played?
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe let's say
it's
that.
It's one that all three of us finished, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it Avengers?
No.
Oh.
It's higher on the list.
What do you mean higher?
It's alphabetically higher on the list.
Is it Call of Duty?
Come on, yeah, God,
Call
let's
of
get rid
Duty?
of Call of Duty.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm perfectly
Yeah.
fine getting rid of Call of Duty.
there we go.
I think
That's my nomination.
I was willing
Get
to
rid
give
of
that.
it.
I was trying to go through and kind of maybe get rid of some of the ones that maybe we all didn't play yet.
Yeah, but we have a consensus on that.
I think we have a
game.
consensus that that game stinks.
It is the worst Call of Duty story that I've ever played.
Mhm.
I am prepared to make that statement.
I think I agree. I can't think of a worse Call
And
of
I've
Duty
played
story.
all of them back to
I don't
Modern
think-
Warfare.
I mean, Ghost is right there, but
I didn't mind Ghost. I didn't. It was
Not
it was
compared to
stupid, but
Adler playing a scarred up Robert Redford.
yeah.
This one. Let's just.
Yeah,
We talked about that enough.
yeah, I don't think we need to hit on that anymore.
Well, can we also get rid of Avengers while we're doing that?
Not yet.
No? Okay.
It's going to come, but not yet.
Okay.
I feel like things need to fall in an order.
Lucas got some kind of agenda.
Yeah,
here.
he does.
What
We're gonna get some
So do
bargaining
you with
coming
this
in.
Okay.
Immortals thing out of nowhere.
All right.
I'm all upside down.
Caleb, what do you think about Dota Underlords coming off the list at this point?
A lot of good games on this one.
2019 Dota Underlords was great. 2020 Dota Underlords was just okay. Or like a Jason and I say, what about Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope?
Oh yeah, that can go.
Yeah, let's just call that one then. Okay, Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope.
That game is another. It is probably the worst of those. It's
Yeah.
another entry in that
Until
that series.
Dawn,
That's-
Band of Dawn.
But it's the worst of those.
That's the back of the box quote. Another entry.
It's not.
It was
I don't-
just okay.
Yeah, I think you might like it less than I do. I think it's okay.
It was.
but-
Yeah, I'm with you. It's okay. Like it was a C game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And C game's got to
Ooh,
go.
a C game.
C game
Not
gotta
even a
go.
B game.
Yeah.
No, it's got to go. Yeah, it's a C game. All right, I feel better about that. All right, this is getting hard.
I would
We're down to
rather.
24.
I see one on here that I think we all agree that isn't good.
Well, before
too.
you do that, since Logan brought up Dota Underlords, I'm gonna in stepping in to take the bullet for that is gonna be Paper Mario.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because I would rather keep Underlords on this list than Paper Mario. I think the game's great. I think it could have used some sort of level up system or some sort of progression just to keep things fresh the whole way through.
Can I retract my Dota Underlords? But I'll let you continue. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I was done anyway.
Okay.
I think it's great, but it could have been better. So I like Underlords better than that.
Agreed. What about Carrion instead?
Yeah, we could get rid of that.
Okay.
Can I tell you guys the ending of Carrion?
Yes, please, because I don't think
Okay.
we'll ever play it
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
So you know how you pick up abilities as you go through.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're trying to escape the lab, basically, that's basically the only story in the game. So the last ability that you pick up lets you inhabit the body of one of the scientists. So you use it to like get into a locked room. Like if you go through a pipe, you can inhabit the body, and then like flip a switch to open a door or whatever. But you're literally just the scientist moving around and like jumping. And so at the end of the game, you do that one last time. You open the door to the vault or whatever that you're, and you literally walk out past lines and lines of these dudes with giant guns, and they think you're a scientist, so they just let you walk past. You get on a helicopter and you leave.
That's pretty good.
I'm like, okay, this is cool, because now, like, I love it when stories do that, where it's like, okay, there's definitely potential for a part 2 of this story, but we're not going to tell you what it is. You fill in the blanks yourself.
Or at the same time, it's perfectly fine being that it ended and it's what it is.
Yep.
Like,
I don't need a Carry-On 2, but I love in my head picturing what the story of a Carry-On 2 might be, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's cool. Jason, you got anything, or you want me to throw something else out there? We're down to 22 games, by the way.
You go ahead, Logan.
Let's try to. Can we get it down to 20 and then break for lunch?
I think that's what I would
yeah.
like to do too. So,
are you?
I see plenty.
I see plenty too. I'm just trying to decide where to pick my spot here.
Are you pretty high on Tell Me Why still?
I think that's where it needs to go
Okay.
next. I think Tell Me Why needs to go. That is the best since Life is Strange 1, but also a few steps below Life is Strange 1. Life is Strange 1 was an excellent game, but everything since then that Don't Nod has done has been pretty flat. Tell Me Why was pretty darn good, but still nowhere close to that it should even be considered in a top 10. But still a good game, good story. If you ever have time, I would still recommend someone playing it.
What about Doom Eternal?
It's not that bad.
We're talking about
it's not my favorite, but it's not that bad.
But we're getting
like
into
Doom
the
Eternal,
perspective
but yeah.
where we're going to need to. We're looking at what could potentially be on our top 10 list and arguments to be made. And the gut check for that game is that the three of us like it, but I don't think it's going to make our top 10 based on our discussions on our podcast.
This is where if we did the math on everybody, I think this is where maybe Doom Eternal would be way higher than it deserves to be, because I think we all like that game, but none of us are passionate about it. So
There's too many other games on this list.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's where I hated cutting it before something like Maneater.
Yeah, if we all give it an 8, and like you're gonna be way lower on Maneater than me,
right?
But like
and I don't know
have
Jason is on
Maneater
either.
So
like that's where I look at Maneater and I'm like, really, Maneater's not better than Doom Eternal.
No,
I don't wanna...
no. Even I'll admit that it's not
right.
better, but I like it more.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I don't want to go down the path of doing this very much, but I do want to take, since we're looking at the end of this list, I do want to take two games and kind of compare them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maneater and Streets of Rage 4. And if you had to pick one to go, who would it be?
I mean, if you're just asking for a gut reaction, it's
well,
Maneater.
yeah, I mean, it'd be Streets of Rage because I didn't really play.
So are we in a
it,
tiebreak situation here?
Yeah.
Do they just both fall off?
Well, that's actually, I think that is fruitful if we want to eulogize both of them.
I mean, there are a lot of other things I'd rather cut
than Maneater
before we do either of these, to be honest. Well, I don't know how you guys feel about Streets of Rage, I guess, but
I look at Streets of Rage and see a good game that I really enjoyed playing, but I don't see a collective top 10 out of Streets of Rage.
No.
How does it make it onto our top 10 list? And
It
I don't
doesn't.
see a path for that game.
I don't see a path for that game either to make a top 10, and I also don't see a path for Maneater to make a top 10. Unless, Jason, you feel differently about that than I didn't.
Yeah, but can we keep it on symbolically for a little bit?
I think that it depends. Here's the argument, Logan, is that Caleb really likes Maneater,
Okay.
and do we really like Streets of Rage 4?
No. Streets of Rage 4 was a good time. I'm glad I played it.
Me too.
So like,
This
that's
is
fine.
just
Just say goodbye.
Let's
We get the passion projects in
Yes.
right now. That's fine.
And
So,
I'm not saying it's going to make our top 10, but like it's a hard cut, and I'd rather delay that as much as possible.
that was so. Streets of Rage 4, I think, made our top 20.
It did. It
was
did.
in the,
it was in
the
20.
Okay.
But
all right, we are
while we
under
were
20.
while we
Oh,
were in the
sorry.
groove, I didn't want to.
That got
All right.
the rose got me. I apologize.
Okay, it's
Is there
fine.
anything else on this list here that looks obvious that it needs to come off?
See, this is where the passion project stuff is in trouble. But I'll go ahead and say this rather than, you get someone mentioned Avengers. Logan said no. We mentioned Maneater. Caleb said no. So I'm not going to go after either one. I mentioned Immortals. Caleb said no.
Mhm.
So what I'm looking at here is Cyberpunk. Before we even get to the meat of this year.
I am 100% in favor of taking Cyberpunk off this list.
I am as well.
That was easy.
I think let's revisit that one next game of the year. It's kind of my thought. I don't
I'm
even
okay
know if
with
I want
that.
to say anything else about it at this point because we've waxed and waned about this thing.
Has it been relisted on the PlayStation Store yet?
Not that I am
don't
aware
believe
of.
So technically, it will release in
Technically, we'll release in
2021.
21. Okay, it is now a 2021 game.
Gravy on that shit salad.
Okay, all right. I feel good about that.
There's
Go ahead.
one.
You're in a safe place.
One other game.
You're in the trust
Uh-huh.
tree, the tree of trust.
Actually, there's two other games that I think don't belong.
One of
On
these
this list.
things is not like the other.
But I'm nervous to say them.
Go ahead.
If you're nervous to say them, then someone else probably feels
Well,
passionate enough that they want to keep it on.
I'm just curious to hear
Okay.
why you wanted Avengers to stay.
I like that story a lot.
You do? Okay.
I do. I think that story is very well done. I think the gameplay around it sucks, but I like the story around it.
Okay. That's all I need for now. But also, the other one that I don't think really belongs, at least in my opinion, and Jason, this might be a you thing, is Assassin's Creed.
No, get rid of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
I
Okay.
like that game enough, but I haven't played enough of it.
I didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but
It is such a safe bet. It's like I can't it's like you go into the ice cream store with a million different flavors and you ask for vanilla. It's just like
I like vanilla,
take a bigger
Mr.
swing.
White Cake
Come
and white
on.
frosting over there.
which must be why I like Assassin's Creed.
I think that's just the thing for me is like it's just it's so average.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
It does.
I'd like to watch Eivor eat some ice cream.
And if you're the type of person that wants to
see
sit
George
down
Clooney
in front of your TV and veg out for 3 hours every night before bed, then that game is absolutely for you. But if you're looking for things that spark enthusiasm
to engage with.
yeah, good.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
I think everything else on this list. Let me take one more look. But I really like this separation because I think there's a clear distinction between the stuff at the top of this list right now and the stuff at the bottom. Of
Yeah,
this
so
list.
we are at 17 games. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
As I think we can easily cut that down to 10. I think we can get that cut down pretty easy. I feel good about it.
Yeah. Do you want to just list through? Go
Okay,
ahead.
so we're going to run through this list here as soon as I figure out what's up with the cocaine that is on my table over here. Seriously, there's like coke on this table. It is shimmery. It is white powder. Jason, what have you done?
Last time we used it, the three of us were together. I don't remember that very
Jason
well.
hasn't actually slept in 3 days because he's been cramming video games.
Explains why his nostrils are all flared right now. Okay, all right. We're going to go through alphabetically. Astro's Playroom, Bug Snacks, Demon Souls, Dota Underlords, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Maneater, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Marvel's Avengers, NBA 2K21, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Resident Evil 3, Spiritfarer, The Last of Us 2, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. Those are the games that we consider contenders for Game of the Year.
It is Marvel's Spider-Man, right? I'm going to fix that.
Marvel's Spider-Man, yes,
right,
that's
cool.
true.
Fix
Okay.
that.
All right, we are going to break for lunch. You will see nothing, but maybe a tiny little music break here.
Okay.
Okay.
You got music?
Oh wait, I usually use the nice soft one that like. All right, we'll have the real one. All right, we'll be back in just a second. And we are back. I felt like there was something we were going to do. Oh, that's right, because I need to reintroduce everybody now that we're back. Because I am Logan. Caleb is across the way.
You are Logan. Back-to-back chicken.
Back-to-back chicken. Back-to-back chicken nights. I had chicken sando nights. Jason, $16 mayo.
That's right. I bought $16 mayo. It's delicious.
Caleb, and Caleb is Mountain Dew Zero Major Melon.
Major Melon, Zero Sugar Dew. It literally says Zero Sugar Dew on it.
Can you imagine if... Do you guys ever watch This Week on Xbox?
No.
I watch it occasionally. Major Nelson does it's long too, like 12-minute segments. And can you imagine if, hi, I'm Major Nelson, and this is brought to you by Major Melon.
You know, when I first saw this, I thought it was Major Nelson. I was like, why are they making a Mountain Dew about the Xbox PR guy? And I was like, oh, no, it was Major Melon. And this stuff is pretty good. I'll give it credit.
I can endorse all of the stuff that we had, or all the stuff that I had. The Mountain Dew Melon, the Sonic Chicken Slider, and the Sonic Chili... What was it? Chili cheese wrap?
Yeah. Fritos chili cheese wrap.
Fritos chili cheese wrap.
Yeah, that was...
I can endorse all three of those things.
I can endorse all three of those too. That was one of the better new food things that we've done.
Yeah.
The commercial for the chicken slinger, it's clear who they're targeting because it's a Southern guy and his family in the car. And the end of it, it's Sonic Chicken Slinger. There's like an A in there where the I should be. Slinger.
Slangers.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about chicken, are we? Maybe we are. I don't know. We're always here to talk about
best
fried
chicken of the year.
I don't know if I would rather. There comes a point in this day, which I enjoyed every year very much, but there comes a point in the day where I get very sad because all of us have to say goodbye to games that we love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're about to do that. I think this is the roughest part of our day.
Cutting it to 10.
Yeah, because the ordering the top 10 has been, depending upon the year, but it's been not as contentious for sure for us historically. I think there's been more agreement on the top of the list, but everybody has individual things that they love, and usually there's a game or two of ours that doesn't make it on the top 10, especially you, Gamerman Caleb.
Yeah, well, so I think we're going to start to say goodbye. And if we need to start to say goodbye, I think we need to say goodbye to Marvel's Avengers.
Okay.
Take it away, Logan.
Okay.
Bake it away, toys.
I think we hit on this. We hit on this earlier when we talked about this, when we all played it. But this game suffered from trying to fit all of the superheroes into a round hole that it could not fit into. Iron Man does not live in the same world that Captain America lives in.
I just moved Miles Morales down instead. That was a huge mistake.
No. Yeah. So
sure, fine.
I think they told a good story utilizing Ms. Marvel as a character, or an unknown character to many, and told a very good story around that. But ultimately, the gameplay fell flat, and whatever they're trying to do from this game, from an ongoing game front, is a complete and utter failure.
Yeah.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. Down to 16.
It's Caleb's turn. It's definitely not my turn. It's Caleb's turn.
It's Caleb's turn.
It's definitely not my turn.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So this might be contentious. I'm getting to it.
All right. You want to throw something out there?
I want to throw something under the bus here real quick and see if you guys are driving or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How do you guys feel about Resident Evil 3?
Not yet. I think I see other things on this list I'd rather see go first.
Okay. Such as?
I have a hard time keeping NBA 2K21 on this list.
Get rid of it.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that game. I
do
think it's
too.
great.
I love it too. I think it's great, but I also have a hard time with a sports game making a top 10 game of the year.
Sure. Yeah, if it ever had a chance, it's right now. But you and I have to make the mature decision.
I would say maybe next year. If there's a way that they can really lean into, because I mean, they made 2 games this year. They made a next gen version and a regular gen version. If they're able to put a lot of effort into a next gen version with, and getting everybody's proper, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Did they really get it? I mean, they did a good job of capturing everybody or getting someone who can mimic everyone to do proper mocap. But
that stuff's pretty good.
And if they can do more of that next year and maybe find a way to... The story mode stuff this year is not bad. I will say that. But if they truly put something in there that was more novel, they could really do something. But I mean, as this game, it's not doing anything different than it's done before, other than be a next gen powerhouse that can now handle more unique things than its predecessors.
It won't make the visual splash next year that it did this year. So that's that's kind of why I'm thinking this would be its best shot. But I also understand if there's a ton of improvements, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. There are 3 games here that I am glad made it to this point. And in a highly unprecedented move, I will take everyone's turn all at once here and take a bullet on 3 games at once. I think. My.
Okay, I'm interested in what those are.
Unless anybody has objections, of course.
Okay, yeah.
But that would be Immortals, Dota, Underlords, and Demon Souls can all leave this list.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If you would like to eulogize those, go ahead.
So I'm not far enough in Immortals to make a complete decision, but I'm probably 7 or 8 hours now. And it's really good. Like it's just really fun to play. It's not gonna blow you away with a story, and it doesn't do anything like super unique, but it blends together like Breath of the Wild and Assassin's Creed so well, and I'm having a blast with it. I'm definitely going to keep playing that game, but I didn't get to it during the year, so maybe next year I'll feel different. Maybe next year it'll fit better on this list. But
I played it for about 2 hours, and I didn't enjoy what I played, but that may be because I haven't seen enough of it. So I'm willing to say that I definitely don't hate it. And honestly, I think the God dialogue in there is actually kind of entertaining, in my opinion.
It's hit or miss. There are funny parts, and there are other parts that are a little cringy.
Okay. Yeah. What about you and I both played? Logan tried Demon's Souls, not for you. I like it more than Logan does. I don't like it as much as you do, Caleb, because I'm not as good at it, frankly. I'm not as practiced in those games. That game is gorgeous.
Yeah. Yes.
She's a looker.
That I think I said it before, but I think in terms of the time frame that we're in, I think that's the most impressed that I've ever been with graphics on a video game. Like, if you take a game in the time it was released, I think this is the most impressed I've ever been with any game. It looks so good. I think the reason why I don't think it can stand this list is it doesn't really do a whole lot different from the original game. They didn't rebalance anything or change much. They just kind of put it out again.
not the purpose of this project.
Exactly.
It seems like choice made there,
exactly.
which whether that's the right choice or not.
They were very successful in what they were doing, but it doesn't necessarily hold up next to these other games that are innovating, you know?
Especially from that developer.
Yeah.
Like that developer. Yeah.
Okay. And then Underlords, I think Logan hit the nail on the head there, where I think last year's version of the game was probably better than this year's version of the game.
Yeah.
And it's been months now since it's been patched at all.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they actually put more of a game behind it, but I liked the previous version.
Yeah,
the early access version.
I still play that game almost daily.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every time I'm watching TV or something, I'll just play a game of that.
Yeah, I guess it is an easy thing to throw on.
So,
I have a mobile game I play daily too, but I don't consider it a Game of the Year contender, I guess, anymore. So
yep.
Okay. Oh, we lost a couple guys there. Oh,
yeah, but I'm not particularly upset about any of those.
Okay.
I think the list as we have it right now, though, with the exception of the game I brought up, which is Resident Evil, I think I'm gonna have a hard time cutting any of these things.
Okay, so what we're down to now, we do have Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Maneater, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Resident Evil 3, Spiritfarer, The Last of Us 2, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. I would feel more comfortable taking off Resident Evil 3 now than I did before.
And to be clear, this is the part where we're cutting good games.
We are. I think we've been cutting good game. Or at least we cut something at least somebody liked.
Yep.
You know, I wouldn't say they're always good, but
I think Resident Evil 3, if this would have been released before the Resident Evil 2 remake, I think it would have been received a lot better. But holding it up to the standard that the 2 remakes set, I think is it really amplifies the negative parts about this game.
Which I think is really interesting because I know you like 3 more than 2.
I like 3. I did like 3 more than
Logan
2.
does. Yeah.
Like the originals or the remakes?
No, the remakes.
Oh, okay.
I thought 3 was better than 2. I'm not sure why. It felt like maybe the package was put together better. But yeah, I preferred 3 over 2.
I'm more mainstream with you, Caleb. I think that 2 is incredible and I think 3 is good. But look at this list.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I am too. I'm having a hard. The only thing that granted, taste different things here and there, but I would take off before this list would be Maneater.
Not happening, right, Kevin? We all agree on Resident Evil.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this list, I think we're in agreement here. We take off Resident Evil.
That's fine. Yeah, that gets us to 11.
Even if you're saying that it beats out Maneater, that's still in 12th place,
right?
11th place, which doesn't make the list.
Right.
So it's not going to make the list either way.
Yeah. Either way, nothing. It doesn't make.
So let's take that off, and then I'm going to take a look at this list to see how I feel about Maneater in comparison to everything else.
Yeah. If you want to,
we need to cut. We just need to cut one more, right?
We just need to cut one more to get down to 10, and I'm comfortable with everything on here. The thing I would remove would be Maneater. Jason, I don't know where you sit of things that are on this list that you would take off first.
Bugsnax.
That's the only other thing besides Maneater.
I'm comfortable with that as well. If you guys want to take that off, I'm
okay. Help me out real quick. I don't. It's not fair to say I don't like. I played an hour and a half of Bugsnax, and I don't really think it's for me. I kind of earmarked that time for Astro instead, which I'm very glad I made that choice. Because I don't know why I played Bugsnax first. But I think we need to have the conversation of how much you like Maneater, Caleb, versus how much we collectively like Bugsnax, which really isn't me at all.
No.
It's how much you two collectively like Bugsnax versus Caleb's passion for Maneater.
Yeah.
And how we land on 10 games.
So I'm going to say I enjoyed Bugsnax. I actively disliked Maneater.
Okay.
Which kind of means that, Caleb, it's your decision, unfortunately, in a way.
So, but when you say you enjoyed Bugsnax, does that mean that, how like
I'm not
on
super
what
passionate
level?
about it.
Okay.
I'm not super passionate about it. I enjoyed my time with it. I mean, I've got some nitpicky things about it, that I've talked about, but
You finished it, right?
I finished it.
Okay. Can we tell Jason the ending?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You tell him the ending.
So it turns out the Bugsnax are actually parasites.
What? Oh no.
Yeah.
And this whole time you're trying to find what's her name?
Oh gosh.
Something stupid.
Some
Sure.
explorer that
Yeah.
Got it.
Mhm.
And you finally find her, and it turns out that she's been assimilated by the Bugsnax and is holding them at bay so that they don't take over.
And she's essentially a giant bug snack now. Like she's just all bug snack.
So the game ends with you trying to save her, and then you have to escape the island as the Bugsnax are trying to hunt you down.
Yeah.
You
And
reap what you sow, kind of thing.
And then it ends with them in the ship landing on the mainland or whatever, and then one Bugsnax runs off the ship onto the mainland.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
It's
Pretty great.
it's pretty great at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's I think that was cool. I think the ways that you had to catch the bug snacks, I think they were fun. Ultimately,
For the most part,
some
there
of them-
were some really
some
annoying ones.
ones. I thought some of the people's background stories were good and some of them were very bleh. There were parts of it that were a little clunky within the game itself. I did enjoy every time I caught one when they would say their name into the little out of the speaker of the controller. That was funny.
Yeah.
It's about strawberry.
Yeah. Yeah. Bunker.
So I guess if I'm looking at this from a game that's like, I'm going to remember this game more, and while I may not be super passionate about it, I appreciate what it did and the goofiness of things that they did with it and the story that they told with it. It just ultimately, like, in a year full of pretty darn good games, like, it still beats out Maneater for me, but I can understand but I enjoyed that game a lot.
So we've talked about it a lot this year already, but one of the things that I think is kind of impossible for me to do is separate a game from the time you played a game. So with Maneater for me, so we're obviously, we're in the pandemic. This game came out in May. This was right around the time when things were actually starting to shut down. This was also just at almost the exact same time as my birthday. So it went from like, in March, April, we're all talking about, we'll be at home for 2 weeks and then we'll be back at work. Then we extended that out to Easter. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll get together with my family for Easter. Everything will be fine by then. Didn't happen. We extended out. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe by the time my birthday comes around, we'll be able to get together. Didn't happen. So not only like am I stuck at home, but we're missing all these events. Pretty bummed out about that. Maneater comes along, and I took a chance on it because I didn't really know much about it. But I was like, you know what, I got to do something this weekend besides sit here and refresh the news. So I picked it up, and it just made that entire weekend just evaporate because I really needed it at that time. Something mindless to go into and collect everything in there. And then just put me in a better headspace. So it's not necessarily that I think that Maneater is a fantastic 10 out of 10 game. It's just, it came out at the exact perfect time for me. So it's hard for me to separate those two things in my mind, if that makes sense.
I get that. And so I guess me playing it at a different time and then I guess thinking about Bugsnax, I mean, yeah, I don't know, because I feel like this is just a debate between me and you about which one.
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
Bugsnax or Maneater?
I like Maneater better than Bugsnax, but that's not worth much because I played both of them for less than 3 hours.
Yeah,
I guess the thing is, like, I would be a little, like, not even that much, but I would be a little upset to see Maneater cut. Would you be at all upset to see Bugsnax cut?
I would go, okay.
I think maybe that's our answer then, is that we take Bugsnax off.
Okay, that's fair. And then is Maneater our number 10 game?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Okay. That I will concede my time.
Do you yield the floor?
I yield my floor. Bugsnax, you are all right. Good for you.
Okay, so we got a top 10 then. That was easy.
Logan, what are our top 10 games? That was way easier.
Too easy.
Yeah, it was a little.
Did we
was a
forget
little
something? Or?
You know, the problem is we talk too much throughout the year, I think. And I think
This year especially.
And
we
I think
did.
this year we determined it was very top heavy and in games, so I think that's also something. Our top 10 games of the year in no order. Well, okay. Maneater's in order, but Astro's Playroom, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Spiritfarer, The Last of Us 2, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. And followed by Maneater. Sorry, Maneater at number 10. So those are your top 9 games.
All right, I think we're done here then.
You just want to leave this? Just send it? All right, Astro's Playroom is your game of the year?
To the internet.
Okay, some of these maybe are in their appropriate spots, but some are probably not.
Okay, well, I'm going to make the executive decision to move Astro's Playroom down. Not a ton, but just a little bit here. Maybe like halfway, just for now, to kind of sort things. So I currently put it at the 4 position. It can go up or down, but I don't think it stays at 1. So I'm also going to, while I'm doing this kind of thing, move Last of Us up to the top. Because I think it's going to be. I'm just putting things in roughly the categories where they belong. Is there anything else that you think, like, if we tier out this stuff, needs to move up or down?
So you're talking like a top half versus bottom half thing?
Kinda, yeah.
I think I'm okay with how some of that fell. I've got maybe one I would swap, but that's a personal thing versus I think what you two would have it as. So I feel comfortable with the tiers if we're looking at what are in slots currently 2 through 6 versus 7 through 11 there.
We talked about Maneater quite a bit because Caleb has spent a ton of time with it. Make sure our recording is still recording. It is, in fact.
Yep.
Good. Okay. I'm the farthest into Yakuza out of the 3 of us for sure.
Oh, yeah.
By a lot.
By a lot. I've played it for about 44 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we haven't talked about Yakuza a lot throughout the year because we all came to it late. As heard on podcasts before, but I adore that game. Just for example, we were talking about dipping sauces while we were eating lunch. There's a conversation that the characters had. One of the characters goes, "Hey, you know the dipping sauces they give you?" And Ichiban's like, "Yeah, what about them?" Because Ichiban's is just a lovable idiot. He goes, "You know that's the rarest and most expensive part of the meal?" "Oh, no way. Is that why they only give you one?" "Yeah." "Well, what's in there?" "All sorts of special stuff. Rare stuff." "Really? Wow." And then everyone else chimes in like, "No, you idiot. He's messing with you. They have a bunch of them in the back." He's like, "Well, I could ask for more then." "Yeah, it's fine. They're not rare. They're not special." "Well, why would you mess with me like that?" "Sorry. My bad. Just thought it was funny." And then there's a pause. And then one of the other characters goes, "Oh, I believed him too." And that just happened today. And it's that stuff, the way the characters joke with one another, interact with one another, and how Troy Baker's performance lifts Ichiban up in this very believable way. That keeps me coming back to that game. But also, there is the peripheral Yakuza stuff that is new to me. Baseball. Guess there's baseball in Yakuza. Mini games. Dragon Kart. There is a game where you start a confectionery, where you run a cookie company, and you become, if you want to, you can become very lucrative and help your in-game currency quite a bit but also you go to the top of the stock exchange is the minigame. So you hire, you fire, you onboard, you train, like you acquire properties, you do like it's a business management sim, and it is. I've spent probably like 6 hours in there. This is the kind of stuff that I never thought I'd do in a game again. Thought that I would make time for, but this game is really like got its hooks in me.
Yeah.
The reason why I chose now to talk about it is because you just talked about how much you love Maneater. I think that it depends on the choice you guys make, but I have definitely gotten what I put into Yakuza. The enjoyment that game has given me back for the investment time has been just right. Perfect. And I'm glad I chose that over like an AC Valhalla because I've played that game before.
Yeah.
Talk about safe bets. I've played those Assassin's Creed games before, but I haven't played anything quite like a Dragon. And I haven't laughed this much playing a game, and I can't remember how long. There's tons of levity to it, and maybe since Persona, I haven't felt like the warm and fuzzies that I feel about this game. Having said that, it probably should be number 9 because you guys haven't played it nearly as much as I have. And that's okay. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that it's on the list. I would potentially like to see it higher. And I think if all of us had played it the same amount, it would be very high. But that's not the situation we're in. And that's why I think it should go at 9, in my opinion. And I am grateful that it is on the top 10.
Yeah, I think it definitely deserves to be in our top 10. I wish it was grabbing me more than it is at this point. Because the stuff that I like about Yakuza is I really like. But it's just the slog of cutscene after cutscene that's really it's just putting me in a bad like headspace every time I try to play it.
If they would cut about a third out of some of it, I think I'd be in a better spot with it. I like when I get to have fun with Yakuza.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it just takes too long to get there.
Yep.
That is my biggest complaint with it. But what is there, and when, like you said, when it hits, it hits. It's very good at that. But boy, is there a lot of filler. And I don't know if the filler is needed between all of that. It's like, it's like, I don't know where you would cut. I guess if I'm the editor of that game, I don't know where I start to cut. Because there obviously is a lot of building of characters and everything else in there, but it is just oh gosh, like here we go again.
I think the reason that the silly stuff hits so hard is because it's up against that serious stuff. So if you start to cut the serious stuff, I think you're also cutting some of the impact that the silly stuff makes.
I wouldn't say cut the serious. I just said I'm just thinking that does every conversation need to be as long as they are?
It's impossible to
I say if you were to cut maybe a third of some of the conversation down, I think you could still have the impact.
Or if it would just had something in the first few hours that was like there is kind of a mini dungeon, I guess, in the beginning, but it's not much of anything.
Yeah, I've gone through that.
It's a preview of what the dungeons would look like.
Yeah.
But you're not going to die in there the way you are in a real dungeon or take the risks that you're going to take going into a dungeon to farm.
Yeah.
I hope you guys continue to play that.
Yeah,
it's very
I
good.
really
I'm
want
going to. I need to send yours back to GameFly and ultimately get my own version of it.
I think that's a good decision, and the only reason I will say that is because I think what helped me reconcile with some of the complaints, which are totally valid. I don't want to try to discredit that, but what helped me is when I sit down and play Yakuza, I realize in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to accomplish much. Like getting closer to the end of it. This is right now for me a lifestyle game. It is the thing I come to every day for about an hour and a half. And then I'll come back to it tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. And eventually I'll chip away at it. But I don't, especially now where we make this sprint towards the end of the year and we play a lot of stuff. Yeah. This is not that game for me.
This is not a bingeable game.
I will do it as long as it takes. As long as it takes.
I think if this came out in the summer and I would have had more time to give it to it. I mean, this might be one of those where it's like, okay, revisionist history. This may not be number 9. This might be number 4. I mean, I don't know, but that could be. Obviously, it's going to be very high on your list, but I could see that happening with this. Just for me as well. I think I will end up liking this game. I don't know if I will end up finishing it, but I think I will end up liking it more than where I'm at today.
It's really fun.
I was willing
good.
to move this, to put this higher on the list, but I don't know where.
I don't, and that's the thing is I'm not sure. The rest of these are all bangers. So it depends on where you guys land on the rest of it. But I'm willing to have Yakuza at 9.
I was thinking it was going to fall like 8 or 7, but if it falls at 9, that's perfectly fine too.
Is there any game on this list besides Maneater that either of you didn't particularly like?
For me, it would have been Ghost of Tsushima, and not because it's a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just it's Assassin's Creed in ancient China or Japan. I mean, I've played that game before and I'm done with it.
Yeah, I think it isn't generic open world game, but I think it does the generic open world game better than any other generic open world game.
That's a fair assessment too.
But that said, it's currently sitting at number 3, so it needs to move down from there.
Okay.
I love that game as well as you, Caleb, but are you okay with it being that far down on the list?
There's not.
I'm not saying it should be number 8.
Oh, I just moved it. Yeah, temporarily.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. If you asked what games are you not thrilled about, and that was for me. That's the only
just
one.
a little bit here. I'm okay with seeing it on the bottom half of the list, to be honest. Because, like you said, there's not a whole lot to cut here. There's not a whole lot to.
There's nothing to cut.
Let's talk about the bottom 5 here then, just and see where if we feel like a game should go up or go down. Ghost of Tsushima, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Spiritfarer, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Maneater. Where should Ori land in this bottom 5?
I think if it were up to me, we would swap out Astro and Spider-Man for Ori and Spiritfarer.
You'd like to move Ori and Spiritfarer higher?
I would like to move Ori and Spiritfarer to the top 5 and move Astro and Spider-Man to the bottom 5.
Okay. Jason, what are you thinking on this? I'm 50-50.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, that's because these are for you, Logan, and I'm making assumptions here, but I assume you like Ori quite a bit, and I know you like Spider-Man quite a bit. So it kind of depends on where you feel about those games individually. I am definitely okay with that. Looks as far as 4 through 10. That looks okay to me. I would maybe argue to see Ori go down a little bit, but I'm not.
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay.
Well, so
I would maybe
at least switch with Spiritfarer.
Yeah. What if we did that?
You move Spiritfarer higher.
Yeah. What if we did that?
If you guys are comfortable with that, I would I would have thrown my Spider-Man higher, but
higher than Ori.
Yes. But if you guys want to leave it there,
Do you want to put it higher than Astro? Just swap those two.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I think
that looks pretty good to me.
I'm liking where this is going.
This is too easy, guys. Somebody say something contentious.
Okay.
I hate Last of Us.
No, I would honestly, for me, Astro is higher than Ori and Spiritfarer. Astro is for me.
That freaking shocks me.
That game, I love Astro. It is.
Yeah, make your case for it.
That
I'm
game,
willing to hear this.
That game is just a Sony love story for me. I mean, that is. And I never would have thought that I was, I wouldn't consider myself a Sony fanboy or Microsoft fanboy. If anything, I probably have always fallen into more of the Xbox camp. But I have owned every Sony thing that there is out there. I've got a PSP. I've got, that kind of stuff. I don't have a, whatever that was after that, the Vita. But I mean,
the Vita.
That game was just it was just fun to play. There's just something about like a general platformer that actually, like, they took all the quirks of the controller and they made them functional in a way that was very entertaining to play. and not just forced in like oh yeah, hey look, we have this functionality in the controller, just check out this little thing you can do with it and shoehorn it in. Like it actually made sense with everything that they did in that game, and all the little just nuanced stuff with the little Astrobot guys pulling up little Sony history stuff. Like that stuff, it was fun to do. And it was with the time trials that you can go back and you can actually like jump in and see, hey, oh yeah, like, yeah, Jason, man, he beat me by that one by like a half a second. And you can, and the fact that you can jump in and out of that stuff so fast by clicking the dashboard button, and you can just see that, oh, hey, a friend beat you on this. That stuff's cool. Like that really showed off what you can do with the PS5 and how there's the stuff that's in there. And I don't know, just Astro was just a cute little mascot. I would actually like them to do more with Astro, like moving forward. I mean, Sony doesn't really have a mascot, but maybe they have one here. And I mean, this could be a nice little jumping off point for Sony to say like, hey, we've kind of got our little Mario.
So how high up would you want to put it?
I would throw it as high as 5.
After Spiritfarer?
Yeah, so that would, because Spiritfarer right now is 4. I don't know where you guys are.
These 4 games in particular, Spiritfarer, Astro, Ori, and Miles Morales, they could go in any order for me.
I agree. I think they're all very interchangeable. I would just put for me, Astro would. I think
we got our tier. Our tier list is set here, right? I think
like a bottom 3.
We got the bottom 3,
a middle tier, and then the top 3.
Yep.
Where are we at on Ori versus Spider-Man? Ori, unbelievable.
Would vote Ori over Spider-Man.
Ori's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. The story's great. It looks great. It plays great.
I mean,
Ori hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I just did not see it coming.
When you texted me, you were like, if something happens to that owl,
dude, don't you touch him. Don't you
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I didn't realize it hit you as hard as it did. I like that game a lot. I mean, I just bought a physical copy of it because I like it. But again, I think, there's a lot of just where we're looking at of our numbers 4 through 8 here, they're very interchangeable. It's almost, I'd give them all like a tie if I can.
Right. And tied for 4th place.
Tied for 4th place. Or Spiritfarer, Astro's Playroom, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, and Marvel's.
I'm okay with this order because Spider-Man is a very, 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 very good 1.5 because it's not a true blue sequel, but damn, it's good.
Yeah.
It refines an existing game to me to a new level, and I like Miles Morales way more than I like Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man was on my top 10. Was that 2 years ago now? Or was it last year? Was it 2019 game?
No, it was 2018.
2018. Right?
2018. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm saying is I was okay with that game, but its quality is undeniable to the point where it had to be in my top 10. But I like this one almost double compared to the original. I really like this one. Having said that, Ori's so good, and I'm okay with Logan's Astro argument. Like, it should be celebrated. That's a pack-in game that is it's so much more than a pack-in game.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of treated it like not like a throwaway, but it's not even like it's advertised.
I'm okay with Astro being the king of the middle tier.
You want to move Astro above Spiritfarer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Sorry. If we are including, sorry, I had my middle tier confused. My middle tier started at 5. Excuse me. As far as interchangeability, I do think Spiritfarer does something that is more special than these other 3 games, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't argue with that.
Spiritfarer is very unique. It's gorgeous. It's very heartfelt. The story is good. I think it's a little long. Spiritfarer is a little long.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way, but I can understand why you would feel that way.
I can't remember, like, here, since we're talking about Spiritfarer, I have specific notes on Spiritfarer.
Oh, okay. Notes
that I want to share here real quick if I can.
This will be the essay reading portion of the podcast.
While we're talking about that, did you do the last person the optional person?
No, I did not.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not that I'm down on it a little bit or at all.
I
but
didn't
that-
hate him as much as you did,
I
but
hated him.
I'm gonna quickly because I forgot that I had notes, but now that I'm looking at them, these are small. But I don't want to ruin Yakuza, but I have like this long list from Yakuza that I don't want to ruin for you guys. But one thing that's really hilarious is you're running through the city once again, and one of the characters, one of your teammates, starts screaming, and you run because they're not in your group anymore, and you think that they're in trouble, like screaming to heaven. You turn into an alley, and they're like, "I had a bug in my ear." It's just stupid stuff like that. That like I don't know why, but that I made a note along with other things. I had a bug in my ear. Also, when you guys get summons, Ichiban calls people on the cell phone and they fall from the sky. And
That's
it's
awesome.
So he's like, oh, I'm gonna call a friend. And so he calls them, and then this adult wearing a diaper, and these crabs fall from the sky, and this guy who you thought was a sex worker who just wants to turn around and help you beat people up. Like, it's so good. It's so good. There are just things about that game that I can't wait for you guys to see. Since we put Ghost of Tsushima at the bottom of the list, Caleb, I think that final battle with Lord of Shimura is very good. Since we're in spoiler cast territory here, I think the final that game is very good on like scene setting and aesthetic.
Yep.
And for being so straightforward, that's a fairly dramatic end of that tale.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the back half of that story is extremely good, and it's a shame that people don't see it because the front half of the story is not that great.
That's it for my bottom half of the list. I have notes on Spiritfarer. Do you guys have anything about Spiritfarer that sticks out to
I
you?
would like to hear your notes first.
I don't. One of these is really hard. So let's split this up. The fucking Haggy egg joke, Stanley.
Yeah.
What is? Oh, sorry. Fucking hey. Isn't that what his mom is saying? Is
Yeah.
that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. He thinks that it's an egg, but his mom is really saying fucking hey. But it's spelled in the game FAKINHAGE. And so when you're reading it, it's like fucking Aggie, and then you realize it's his mom swearing at him.
I never caught that.
Fucking Eggy. Yeah, like that's.
But it's her just saying fucking A, Stanley, fucking A, Stanley. But it's how he spells it and says it. And he's saying it wrong.
Oh, okay.
So, and you're reading it. So the clever part of that is no vocal actor ever says fucking A.
Yeah, because there's no voice acting. in
Then
that
you
game,
eventually, he says something like it's really obvious that, his mom's swearing at him. And one of the hard things about Stanley is that his parents didn't like him very much. And that's really hard to hear. Annie's departure is really sad because she's got Alzheimer's. Daffodil is here. So what's the deer's name?
Stella?
No,
No,
Stella
Stella's-
is
No,
your
that's-
name.
yeah.
The deer is the very first one.
Yeah, it's
not Astrid.
is it?
Astrid.
It's
No, it is
Astrid.
Astrid.
Yeah, it's
Is
Astrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Astrid says to your cat, Daffodil. At the beginning of the game, it does a really good job of setting the tone. Oh, Daffodil's here. We'll get a lint roller. It's just that kind of stuff about Spiritfarer is really good. The reason why Annie's departure hit me hard is because I've had family that has had Alzheimer's, and it's hard. And so she doesn't know who Stella is,
Right.
and that's like
Are you talking Annie or Alice?
I think. Am I saying the character's name wrong? It's the older.
pig,
Isn't that
right?
Annie?
No, that's Alice.
No.
Alice is like the older, like gerbil kind of.
Yeah,
person.
she has
That's
Alzheimer's.
Alice.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
And so she's having a conversation with you, and she thinks you're someone you're not. But Stella is still like, because Stella's compassionate, like seeing her to the end. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if she doesn't, Stella doesn't care because you can say anything to Stella. And then the other thing was when you send Stanley through the door, he's a child. And that is rough. It is.
Yeah.
A video game I'm fairly cynical, and for a game to hit me that hard, because he's scared. It's hard.
Yeah. Gwen is actually the name of the deer Astrid was the name of the
Oh,
female
the
lion.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I pulled it up because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you're right.
Giovanni was the male lion who was the player. And
Astrid's husband or fiance, or what's their relationship?
It seemed like they were kind of back.
They were on and off again.
On and off again relationship because Giovanni couldn't help but cheat.
Yep.
And Astrid couldn't help but she just kept coming back to him. She loved him even though he could never be faithful. And you had the option at one point to tell Astrid if Giovanni was meeting up with somebody else or not.
Is that a choice?
Yeah,
it is a choice.
It's the only like
real choice
in the game.
What is there? But there's no outcome. There's no departure differences, are there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I ratted him out.
I ratted him out too.
Yeah, she gives you different dialogue as she leaves, depending on which one you do.
Yeah.
So I mean, ultimately everybody goes, but it's the dialogue tree that you get after you leave. And Giovanni's dialogue too changes because he repents after he gets caught and realizes that he is
like a true scoundrel.
Right, like he realizes what he had with Astrid and he screwed up. And but yeah, that's
out of all those moments, when you take a child who's scared and asking for their parents, that is rough, dude. That is rough. Yeah. So I think that's maybe if we were doing moment of the year like we have in the past, I would be a very difficult obstacle to block if we came to that because I was a mess. Oh my God, I was a mess.
Yeah, that was. I mean, each one of these characters had their own thing. I mean, there were some that were obviously much harder, but that was the point of life. You know, I think that was the point of this game was that hey, there are people who are more difficult to let go,
and some you're like, God, get off my boat, go away.
I mean,
like Bruce and Mickey had to go. Like they were terrible.
Why are they so mean?
The Excalibat from Yakuza is.
Dude, yes. I didn't. That. No, can we do number 2? 1.2? Yeah. When you get that weapon, it's pretty. That's pretty great. And to be fair, Caleb, that game is. I know I've talked about it a lot, but that game is full of moments like that.
Yeah.
And it's. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys.
I think you definitely are playing it the correct way, and that's what I need to try to force myself to do is play an hour or two here and there, and not my normal like I'm gonna binge 5 hours of this game tonight, you know.
Yeah.
Or just accept it.
Yeah.
Lay back and let Yakuza, in my opinion. So one thing that I am surprised as I look at our list is everybody done with Spiritfarer? Sorry.
Yeah.
I made notes.
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Forgive me for that. I'm looking at this list, and if we have Spiritfarer at number 4, the next game on this list is Hades. And I am a little surprised that Caleb hasn't wanted it to go down.
I want it to go down. I thought that was going to be a
block,
giant, wall in my way of moving that down.
Jason, what are you thinking about? Since Spiritfarer is at 4, would you like to see Spiritfarer go above Hades?
No.
Okay. Caleb, would you like to see Spiritfarer go above Hades?
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
You?
I'm good with where it's at.
How are there games that you want to see go higher, Caleb, based on your feelings about Hades?
I mean, this is just I know I'm the outlier on Hades, so if it were for me, Hades would be in that bottom tier on this list.
Like it'd be like a 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, but I completely understand why it's where it is.
Okay,
right here. So I'm okay with it because this is not my personal list. So.
I guess that's where I was like, okay, if it has reached a block of, because
I don't think it can move up. I would be very. That's where I would protest is trying to move Hades up.
Jason, do you want to move it up? I think it's perfect where it is.
Yes, I agree with Logan, but I also wanted to make sure we weren't doing something terribly dirty in Caleb's opinion because he doesn't like it as much as we do. Yeah.
Did you happen to check out the endings at all?
So yes. So I watched. Yeah. So I went to YouTube and I watched the first probably 5 of the endings, and I was so like I understand like it goes places and it gets good, but watching that and not playing it is so tedious. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
I'm like, I cannot watch any more of this because it's text after text after text. I can't,
that's true.
Can't do
and it's
it.
like 4 minutes long
Yep.
of each thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I just went to a text-based site that recapped the ending and read instead.
read it like a book or something. Yeah. Mhm.
And I will say the ultimate ending where we're spoiler free, right? We
Well,
can
at this
just-
point, yeah.
Let him fly.
Yeah.
we can. The ultimate ending, if I understand it correctly, is it's just they all live happily ever after together in hell.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. That's awesome.
Right.
Like I think the over, I guess it's probably started in the 90s where everything had to have a twist ending or everything had to have a dark, tragic turn at the end. And for this to just not do that is awesome.
Right. That was kind of like, wait a minute. Like, it was kind of like all of a sudden Persephone was like, well, what do you mean? Like, he still has pictures of me in his room. Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden it turned into like this weird, like, soap opera, like in the last 3 endings.
That's a good point. Yes, it is a little soap opera like. And they give you a decent reason, kind of like Carry On, but in a different way. They give you a good reason, like, Zagreus, we need you to do exactly what you've been doing because otherwise it's going to be obvious to Zeus what has happened.
Okay.
And they're worried about the other gods' reaction to Persephone coming back, even though that's before the ultimate quote unquote ending where they just live happily ever after. They give Zagreus a good reason to continue to causing ransack because they don't want it to be obvious.
Don't confuse the gods. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you all of a sudden are motivated differently, then you would stop trying to leave, and we want you to continue to do that.
Do you still fight Hades every time
Yeah.
then? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's playing the part.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like
All right.
they have a dumb conversation about like, oh, you're here again, huh? Like, and it's so sarcastic because I wanted to make sure I was like, okay, now that I've done the 10th run, I was like, I have to do an 11th run to see what is different about it. And yeah, the gods all treat you the same and everything else. Hades or I can't think of his name. Blah. The main guy, Zagreus.
Zagreus.
Yeah, I had a brain fart. Like he'll throw like after a god will give you a boon, he'll like make a little quip about like, fooled you, didn't I? Like just something like that, and it will. And then yeah, they get to that end, and like that first time you fight Hades, it was afterwards. It was just kind of like he's like, don't hurt me too much this time, but make it look like you're still trying. Like,
There's like a sportsmanship angle to it.
That's awesome.
Hello, boy. Not quite God of War, boy, but
Yeah. Yeah. To me, the story and the characters and everything, I love. I think for me, that's the strongest part of the game. It was the playing the game that didn't resonate with me as much as it did for you guys.
Yeah, and I loved playing it. I had such a good time learning how to master all that stuff.
It's
and
just a mental block for me on roguelikes. I can't get over the hurdle in my head.
There are some roguelikes it does that for me too, so this was one that connected with me.
Do you think that you've reached a point of saturation that Logan and I haven't with roguelikes? And maybe that's why?
Not really, because I don't think I've
don't
played
play a
a
lot.
ton. Unless, I mean, there are some, but the ones that I have liked are the ones that are easy. Like FTL on easy mode or Void Bastards. Like, those are not hard games to finish. So,
We like Dead Cells more than he does, now that I think about it.
Yeah. You liked it more than I did.
I think, and now that I think about it, if Hades would have had a quote-unquote easy mode, I think this would be... I think it would have been this high on my personal list.
It kind of does, but that was
God
only...
mode thing.
But you got to work for it.
Yeah, and the only reason that it was able to help me was because I had already done the work.
Yep.
And so, it was like, then all of a sudden I'm clearing,
Yeah.
like regularly after God mode. But I had to do one legitimate clear, and I didn't even know it was a thing. Shame on me, bad gamer. I didn't
No, it's
know.
all right. Hey, I mean, you don't know until you know.
So Hades is number 3. I think.
Yeah.
That leaves-
I'm fine with
So that leaves
yeah.
us with 2 games left between a 1 and a 2, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us Part 2. Do we just want to talk about each of these games and then have and let's start with Final Fantasy VII Remake just because alphabetically that's where it falls, and then we go from here?
Sure.
Okay. Who would like to begin?
So, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, yes.
I've said it on our podcast probably dozens of times, but Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
I don't know.
Heard about that.
And when they first announced that there was a remake, I know a lot of people were excited for the possibility, and my initial reaction was, "Oh no, they're going to ruin my favorite game of all time."
Yeah, my second favorite game of all time. But
Yeah.
yes, I thought, uh-oh.
And they, especially given Square's recent track record, I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 did not connect with me much at all, and Final Fantasy 15 didn't do much for me either. Like their recent games have been big swings and misses for me personally.
Me too.
So for them to come out and do this game justice is a small miracle, in my opinion. I cannot believe that they pulled this thing off. They got the music right. They got the characters right. They rearranged the story in the way that makes it more coherent, which is, I mean, that's not hard because the original game's story isn't not very coherent. But I'm in shock that they were able to do this, and I cannot wait for part 2 because I want to see some more of these characters and how they incorporate them into combat, because the way that they took a turn-based RPG where all of the characters basically had the same abilities and turned that on its head to make every character unique and useful, I think is incredible. And I want to see them do that with the remaining characters, and I want to see the end of this story. I'm really looking forward to the next part, and I think that this game really sets it up nicely.
Caleb, you and I both have a lot of history with that game, and I can't have said it better myself. I'm blown away that it's as good as it is, let alone decent. Like this has had trouble written all over it, and it's really faithful where it needs to be faithful. It takes liberties where it needs to take liberties. It looks incredible.
I know, and that's
sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I am very excited for what comes next, but I think like it's where it is right now on our list because it deserves that we take a breath and acknowledge, even though it's part 1, which is like 5% of the overall story of Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII. This, as it stands alone, is a fantastic game, just on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, this was what, 30 hours? If you mainlined it, it was like 30 hours, right?
Yeah.
Of what you said was originally what, 5 hours of the game?
If that, maybe 3. If you've played it before, you know what you're doing. You were flying through this part in 2 hours.
Right. That to me is incredible because I never played the original Final Fantasy VII. I would consider myself a Final Fantasy fan, but for whatever reason, I skipped the best one. I skipped the PS1 versions of that game. I mean, I was
the best 3.
I was a Super Nintendo.
That's not right.
And PS2 Final Fantasy guy. I mean, that's where I ended up. For me, coming into this brand new and not really, I mean, only knowing the characters based on pop culture, this was incredible. I mean, it was up and down. I mean, they have done a very good job of setting up who these people are. Like you said, I didn't even know that some of those characters were complete throwaway characters, and they ended up being major characters.
Yeah, Jesse has like a dozen lines in the original game.
Right. And I cared about Jesse.
Biggs and Wedge, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, like, they were huge parts of this. And yeah, it makes you wonder, like, are we going to have an entire generation of the PlayStation 5 where we still may not finish Final Fantasy 7? If they're doing it,
it is going to be daunting. And I know we're here to talk about the game as is, but looking forward, oh boy, here goes. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I guess there could be spots where, like, all right, well, they're going to end up skipping certain parts of other things of the game, or
they better not skip Gold Saucer.
Okay, well, I shouldn't say skipping it, but like, maybe not getting the 2-hour to 30-hour treatment. Yeah. Like it might get the treatment that it received in the original game, but.
Well, guys, we're just going to walk right by this coffin here. We won't touch anything.
Yeah.
Everyone move on. Okay. Moving on.
So the one thing that speaking of that they did not do in this first one is originally when you're going through Shinra Tower for the first time, you can find Cait Sith's ultimate weapon. And Cloud just won't pick it up because he's like, I don't have no use for a megaphone right now. And he puts it back. They didn't do that in the remake, and that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, that would have been good. Who wants to talk about The Last of Us Part 2?
That should probably be you. I'm guessing.
I mean, we did an entire podcast
Yeah, that's
dedicated
true.
to The Last of Us 2. That game is a narrative masterpiece, I think, up and down. I mean, that, say what you will about some of the gameplay of it. I still think it plays well, but there are parts of that game that, some of the gameplay isn't S tier, but that story is.
Yep.
That's for sure.
That's the struggle for me here with the 1 and 2 is one of these games I think does a fantastic job with the story, and I think the other one does a fantastic job with the gameplay. So, like, how do you reconcile that?
And they're both, to me, they're very good at both. I would even say the gameplay of Last of Us isn't bad.
No,
I mean, it's not.
But
at all.
If I were to give it a letter grade, I might give it a B. And if I were to give the story in Final Fantasy VII Remake, I might give it a B.
I mean, I would even say A+ on the story for Last of Us 2, A on the gameplay, A+ on the combat or on the gameplay of Final Fantasy, and A on the story.
Yeah,
that's where
pretty much.
I wouldn't even give it a B. Like I would, that's how high in regard I hold the story of The Last of Us 2 and how high I like the gameplay of Final Fantasy 7. I don't know what know say about that game. I mean, the whole thing.
We did an entire podcast.
Right.
Like
we gave it
said.
its due. Yeah. So that's why I don't know if I can go back and relive that part of it. But I think we all know our feelings on The Last of Us.
Looking at my notes, I have a bunch of moments from Last of Us 2. Get off my train, shitbird. Oh, wait, that's what Jill said on Resident Evil 3. Sorry, forgive me. That was
also a great moment.
That was my Resident Evil 3 note. Oh, yeah. Get off my train, shitbird. Okay. But we talked about those individually a lot. I think that it's the quiet moments in The Last of Us 2 that really make it where you're observing something that you haven't quite seen before. And I'm all about that in games where we're pushing things forward. And everyone is very unique. They're all complex. They're intertwined in a lot of ways. And that stuff should be bad. Like in a video game, that much level of character development.
History tells you it's bad.
All of that sensitive material has train wreck written all over it. And yet somehow, I don't want to give Neil Druckmann all the credit, but like somehow he and the rest of their writing staff have done it. I don't know how they did it. This is like the GTA thing. Like you're poised to fail. And not only did you not fail, you pushed the industry forward. And that's where, Caleb, if we're going to talk about these games together, I have a hard time not picking the one that has pushed us into new territory and one that has done something incredibly well. Like Final Fantasy VII almost has no sins, but it also didn't take the chances, I think, that The Last of Us 2 did, especially narratively.
Yeah.
And that's where I am at with these two games.
They, at 50% of the market through The Last of Us, they took the villain and made them likable.
Somewhat.
I mean,
identifiable, maybe.
Yeah, identifiable. Yeah. True, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's more identifiable. But you understood where they came from, and by the end of the game, I was still on side Ellie, but I'm sure there were people who were on side Abby.
Yep.
And you had. I mean, you were not like you had a choice, but man, that last part of that game, that's tough.
I also think that I do enjoy the uncompromising nature of that game. Post-apocalyptic has been done to death, especially quote-unquote zombies. Post-apocalypse has been done to death. And somehow they've found a way to make all of the violence pretty much not justified isn't the wrong word, but all of it makes sense in context.
Yeah.
These people are surviving by the skin of their teeth. Mm-hmm. You're barely getting out of each of your encounters, whether or not it's on easy mode or not or whatever. Mm-hmm. The way they position Abby and Ellie in these interactions is like, whew, oh my God, I wasn't going to get out of there barely without your help. Like they put them in the situations where it makes sense. And when you blow someone's head off and when it's very violent and when you watch someone's skull gets bashed in. I can understand why maybe early in the game someone thinks that, especially from Abby's perspective, like that was literally overkill. Like that was an overkill. That was over the top. Then you're put in Abby's shoes, like you said. And then you understand her pain. And it's like, I would have ripped him apart worse.
Right.
Because of the pain that he caused you. And like, once again, this is a video game. None of that should have resonated. It should have fell flat because it doesn't ever work in video games.
And a lot of video games, it does fall flat. And I mean, the fact that like when you end up in a zombie encounter in any other game, they're not as intense as these because you have the equipment to, in most games, you're blowing away 100 zombies at a time. This one is like, oh shit, there's a zombie in this room. What the hell am I going to do? I mean, so even the gameplay factors in that, it's like, oh, now there's like 2 clickers in this room. Oh shit. I mean,
that I'm glad that's how you feel about it because that's the way that the game is intended. That's not the way I feel about the combat. I don't particularly enjoy playing that game all that much. I think it's fine. It's just at the end of it, I was just putting everything down on the easiest difficulty because I just wanted to see the story. And I was like, I don't want to.
That's fair. I've done that.
I don't want to struggle through this anymore.
It is a little long in that regard if you're not enjoying playing it.
I generally don't play stealthy in games. So creeping around and stabbing people in the back is not really my style of game either. And so that's why, for me personally, I would put Final Fantasy up at number 1. Is because I enjoyed playing it and I enjoyed the story quite a bit, but this is me nitpicking the hell out of Last of Us. I'm not trying to say
it's like I'm trying to find the negative parts of a good game. Like it is but when you're trying to go, when you've got 2 excellent things, I mean, that's where you're going, okay, well, which one has the most negatives that we can say one is justified over the other?
Yeah.
I completely get it.
Again, as we've had in years past, this is a 1A, 1B situation, in my opinion.
I can't disagree with you. I know for me, I have a 1A and a 1B, so the A does beat the B, but
it's fine. It just keeps going.
But it's not by much.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Jason? Is that the way you feel, or do you feel this is a 1 and a 2? Jason,
we've been talking a little bit, and I would like to zoom out, especially when we have some downtime this year, to look at our personal lists. I think that'll be fun. A fun little experiment. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know where these games are on my all-time rankings. I just know where they are in the perspective of 2020.
That's true.
But I'm trying to think about which game will last longer, stick with me longer. And it's back to the narrative leap that we've taken in the industry.
Yeah.
I know I'm repeating myself, but that's where I keep coming back to. That's what makes them different to me.
And I think if let's say 10 years down the line, we've got Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 5. The collective of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 5 might be the best, might be the most memorable.
That's a good point.
But I think for me, again, just like you said, for this year, The Last of Us is going to stick out more than this chunk of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, let's just do it. Because, like I said, to me, this is 1A, 1B. This is not 1 and 2.
If you don't feel like that this is... Logan and I are clearly okay with Last of Us being our game of the year, but are you, as long as I want you to be heard. Here.
No, I feel like you guys made really good points. Like the Final Fantasy VII remakes an old game in a really compelling way, but Last of Us Part 2 tells a story in a way that no other game's ever told a story. So
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that the 7 remake thing, old game thing. I'm not even considering that. For me, it's a brand new game.
That's true.
And from what you said, you took a 2 or 3 hour chunk of a game and blew it into 30 hours. That's not even close.
They could have put a new coat of paint on the old game and shipped it, and it would have sold probably roughly just as well. And they didn't do that.
Right. And so like I said, both things are excellent. I think the other one is Last of Us is just a hair above, and like I said, in 5 years, will I say the Final Fantasy VII cinematic universe with all of their games is its own thing, and then we all go, oh yeah, like it's part 3 was better than part 1, or like that's to be determined,
right?
But, that's why I think for me that it's Last of Us.
I like this list, guys.
I think it looks good too.
I like this list. I'm good with it. Even parts of after we've had this discussion, after I've now created my top 10, I'm kind of like, well, maybe that should have moved this spot. I don't know.
That's all right. You've had the important discussion, which is ours.
I know, right?
And every single year that happens to me throughout the course of the year, I'm like thinking back and I'm like, I remember this game a lot more than I remember this game. I should have changed those, but things change over time, so it's fine.
Yeah,
that's what I think will be interesting going into next year. If you guys want to look at our personal list, I think it'll be a little like a good therapy session, because no, Caleb, you talk about this game all the time. It goes here.
Yeah.
Doesn't it go here? And then you can have the internal debate on whether or not it actually goes there.
Should we sit and record ourselves watching our game of the year?
Maybe.
I don't know. We'd have to pause.
No,
we tried that before and it didn't work, right?
It didn't work.
Too much dead air.
Yeah, too much dead air. All right. Okay. All right. Let's recap our top 10 here.
Can I do it?
Yeah, go for it.
At number 10, this is why I wanted to do it, so I could say officially at number 10, I got Maneater on our top 10 games of the year. Number 9 is Yakuza Like a Dragon. Number 8, they're one number off, which is really throwing me. Number 8 is Ghost of Tsushima. Number 7 is Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 6 is Ori and the Will of the Word I can't pronounce. Number 5 is Astro's Playroom. Number 4, Spiritfarer. 3, Hades. 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake. And number 1, Game of the Year 2020, The Last of Us Part 2.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I like it.
Good job,
Congratulations, everybody. We made a Game of the Year. Congratulations to The Last of Us 2.
You'll be receiving your trophy in the mail shortly.
Yes, along with all of their other trophies that they have.
The Unlocky, Mastery. Mastery.
I'm going to propose that we watch our individual Game of the Year videos, then we come back for the bonus session of the Game of the Channel, re-ranking of the top 10 games of the channel.
Okay.
Which we traditionally call Go to Overtime?
Go to Overtime,
Go to Overtime.
So this is the same segment? Okay.
Right. So we would move into Go to Overtime, but I'm going to say let's take a break from podcasting, watch our videos, and come back for Go to Overtime.
Okay.
Stay tuned for the podcast where we determine the best game in the history of the Master of Unlocking.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Goes back to 2016, if I remember right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be tough. Okay. All right. We'll watch for that other podcast. It's been the Master of Unlocking Game of the Year.
So long, 2020.
Shit show palooza. I said it backwards. Thanks for listening.